If it bleeds, it leads. This has been a maxim of television commercial news for a long time, meaning that because people are so drawn to accounts of violence and death, these things make good lead stories in news bulletins because it draws people to watch. How sad that we are so drawn to the macabre, not just in the news, but increasingly in our entertainment as well. How many of the best-selling novels and top-rating TV shows are crime dramas, mystery thrillers, which often include very detailed accounts of cruelty and serial killings. In fact, it's quite possible that we are so immersed in this landscape of this kind of storytelling that a person might get up in the morning and read or hear the morning news, including accounts of violence. On the way to work, they might read a crime drama novel. On the way home, they might listen to a true crime podcast. And in the evening, binge watch 2 or 3 episodes of a murder mystery crime drama TV show. In doing so, we might spend several hours a day immersed in accounts of cruelty and violence and horror. This can't be good for anyone's mental health. It can't be good for anybody's sense of how we relate to the world and see other people. By contrast, the final words we hear in St. Paul's letter to the Philippians, which we read today at Mass, are Paul saying, think of these things, whatever is true and pure, whatever is good, whatever is noble, whatever is praiseworthy and lovely and worthy of praise. He says, think of these things, and the God of peace will be with you. Now that might sound like Paul just saying, think happy thoughts. But Paul, if you know St. Paul, he's not into just happy thoughts. Paul is always a very straight shooter, and his concerns are our transformation into Christ-likeness and our relationship with God and our salvation. So it's important when we hear Paul's words that we hear what Paul says the result of thinking about these things is. He says, think about whatever is pure and good, noble, lovely, praiseworthy, and excellent and worthy of praise, and the God of peace will be with you. And that's the important thing, that for Paul, our thinking of these things draws us into a relationship with God. And the word Paul uses for thinking of these things, we might better translate as pondering or contemplating, which is a very different kind of thing to our usual fast-paced analytical thinking we normally do. It's better compared perhaps to sucking on a hard candy, like a boiled lolly, like a Lifesaver or something, where we kind of suck on it and roll it round our mouth and our tongue, letting the flavour and the sweetness kind of seep out gradually over a long time. It's that kind of thinking where we hold an image or thought in our minds and our hearts and sort of let it roll over, and we just see what it might gently and gradually reveal to us over time. Because what it will do is draw us toward God. So Paul says, gives a list there of things which are pure, beautiful, good, lovely, noble. And these really are comparable to what St. Thomas Aquinas said are 3 great, he says, transcendentals of goodness and beauty and truth that lead us to God. And St. Thomas makes the important distinction to say that God is not just one good, pure and beautiful thing among many. No, God is truth. God is goodness. God is beauty. And that when we contemplate anything which is good, pure or beautiful, it actually draws us into God, who is the source and origin of these things. Now, there are books and books written about all of these things, but Bishop Robert Barron, who's a bit of a rock star of bishops at the moment, says that beauty, of these 3, beauty is a great place for us to start. That to contemplate beauty is something which we could all do. We don't need any particular education or any particular thing. We just need to set our hearts on something which is beautiful. And that for us might be the beauty of in creation, whether that's the smallest flower or the grandest mountain. Whether it might be found in literature, in the great stories of heroic deeds and virtuous characters, both in novels and in film. It might be found in great artworks, whether it's the smallest, simplest sketch of a bowl of flowers, or the work of a grand master 3 meters high, showing some great scene. It might be found in music, from a gentle cello solo to the grandest symphony full of an orchestra, to a whimsical, wispy voice of a vocalist. All of these things we can find beauty in. And you might have perhaps had that experience of contemplating one of these beautiful things where it literally takes your breath away, where suddenly you find yourself holding onto a tension in your torso and your core, and all of a sudden you just let go of that tension and go, and there's a new space within you. This kind of contemplative thinking of beauty it's really very different to just a checkbox where we kind of change an Excel, a cell in a spreadsheet in our minds from thinking about bad things to thinking about good things. It's not just a substitution, it's actually an enlarging of our heart. The time we spend with beauty opens us up, creates a new, broader space within our minds, and actually lets us truly find our hearts. Many of us are disconnected from our hearts. We stay in our heads, we stay there all the time, it's a safe place. But to come to our hearts, there's a little more vulnerability. But beauty can let us go there. Beauty can let us find our heart. And so I invite you to contemplate something beautiful this week. Whether it's any of those things I listed of film, art, novel, music, creation, it could be the face of another person, a sleeping child. There's often such great beauty in a sleeping child. To spend time gazing upon, pondering, contemplating that thing, both in the moment you can see it and hear it, but also when you're away from that thing, to try and hold that with you, to recall it, and let that kind of be like the hard candy that kind of just swirls around your mouth, that thought kind of stays with your heart and swirls around. Because in doing so, it draws you into God as you follow the path of beauty upward toward the God who is the source, the one whom St. Augustine said, "Late have I loved you, O beauty ever ancient, ever new." The things Paul says to us, think about what is good and pure, true and noble, excellent, lovely, worthy of praise. Think about these things this week, and the God of peace will be with you.